Welcome to your deep dive. Today we're diving deep into human history,
Oh, yeah.
exploring how we went from just another species to, well, rulers of the planet.
Quite the promotion, right?
And we'll be using Yuval Noah Harari's book, Sapiens, as our guide.
Excellent choice.
So strap in because, as Harari shows, history is rarely straightforward.
Definitely full of surprises, and Harari doesn't shy away from the, shall we say, less flattering parts.
Right. Think about it. 70,000 years ago, sapiens were just one of several human species.
Hanging out, sharing the planet.
Exactly. Neanderthals, Denisovans, all these others, and then poof, they're gone.
Vanished, leaving us to wonder, what happened?
Yeah. And what does that say about us, the survivors?
Big questions. Anthropologists have been debating that for ages.
Right.
But Harari offers some intriguing theories, like the power of our language.
Oh, interesting.
Think about it. We can warn each other about danger.
Like, hey, lion by the river.
Exactly, but we can go so much further. We can plan a hunt, share complex knowledge, pass it down through generations.
It's not just yelling fire. It's explaining how fire was discovered and how it changed everything.
You got it. That's the difference.
Wow, I like that analogy.
It's that ability to communicate that really sets us apart.
But Harari also talks about this thing called gossip.
Ah,
Now, before you think it's just idle chatter,
right. Not just who's dating who.
he means sharing social information.
Exactly. Who to trust, who's skilled, who's trouble, that sort of thing.
And that was key to building larger, more cohesive groups.
Huge advantage over rivals who couldn't do that.
Makes sense. Even today, think about how much we talk about social dynamics.
Oh, absolutely. From office politics to, celebrity gossip.
Still trying to understand our social landscape.
Hardwired into us, crucial for survival back then.
Like building trust, forming alliances, all through communication.
Dave, Sapiens the Edge.
So it wasn't just being stronger or faster, it was outsmarting them socially.
But of course, there's also the question of violence.
Right, did we just outtalk our rivals, or was it more, well, brutal? Yeah, the evidence is murky.
Harari mentions sapiens had these long-distance trading networks. Neanderthals didn't.
Suggests broader knowledge, better resource management.
But were those trades always peaceful? Hard to say for sure.
Exactly. Might have been a bit of both, brains and brawn, maybe some brutality too.
So our history is a bit more tangled than a simple hero's journey.
Definitely.
Now let's jump to the agricultural revolution around 10,000 BC.
Big change there.
Sapiens go from roaming hunter-gatherers to settled farmers.
Huge shift.
But here's the thing, was that really progress?
That's where Harari really makes you think.
Yeah, from our perspective, farming might seem like a step down.
Hunter-gatherers, diverse diet, more free time, more freedom to roam.
While farming, harder work, limited food, risk of famine if crops fail.
So why switch? Good question.
Right, it seems counterintuitive. Why trade a carefree life for all that?
Harari suggests it might have been an accidental gamble on population growth.
Oh, I see.
Settled life allows for more kids, more mouths to feed, leading to more farming, almost like getting trapped in a cycle.
And it gets more complicated when you factor in animal domestication.
Oh, right, not just planting crops, but controlling animals too.
And early methods, let's just say, weren't always humane.
Like separating calves from their mothers, trying to trick them into producing more milk.
Exactly. It makes you wonder, are we truly improving the world or just creating new suffering?
A question we still grapple with today.
Absolutely.
So progress isn't always a straight line. It's more like a winding path with hidden consequences.
A path with a few bumps along the way, that's for sure.
Now let's talk about something truly remarkable, our ability to cooperate on a large scale.
Yeah, we're not just talking about ants in a colony here.
We build empires, economic systems, global institutions. How do we pull that off?
Harari calls these imagined orders, shared myths and beliefs that bind us together.
It's like a piece of paper is just that, paper.
Right, but if we all agree it represents a law or money.
It suddenly has power to shape our behavior.
Exactly, we create these shared dream worlds built on ideas.
Kind of mind-boggling when you think about it.
He gives some great examples, like the Code of Hammurabi in ancient Babylon.
Oh, I've heard of that.
Sets laws based on social hierarchy, different punishments for different people.
So a shared belief about justice, even though it might seem unfair to us now.
Right, but it helped unite a vast empire.
And then you have the U.S. Declaration of Independence, totally different values.
Champions equality.
But both are imagined orders, showing how abstract ideas shape societies.
Even today, think about nations. No physical boundary in the ground.
It's an idea, a story we tell ourselves.
Same with corporations, money, human rights.
We agree to believe in them, so they exist.
The powerful stuff.
Feels like we're all living in a giant collaborative fiction.
In a way, we are.
Now let's add another layer, writing.
Oh, that changes everything.
Harari points out early writing, like Sumerian cuneiform, was mostly for accounting.
Reflects the growing complexity after the agricultural revolution.
Right, need to track grain, taxes, debts, all that.
Suddenly, you need records to manage a whole city.
Must feel like magic, capturing information like that.
And as societies grew, writing got more sophisticated.
Like Egyptian hieroglyphics, not just numbers, but anything.
Laws, poems, even recipes, all recorded.
This information explosion, it made empires possible.
But it also created new hierarchies, the literate versus the illiterate.
Like those scribes, almost like today's tech elite.
Controlling information flow, fascinating parallel.
Harari even compares those scribes to modern algorithms.
Both processing tons of data, shaping our lives in ways we don't always see.
Makes you think, have we outsourced our thinking just like those ancient societies?
It's a question worth pondering.
And let's not forget about money, another force that binds our world.
Whether it's gold or digital bits, it's essentially a shared illusion.
But an illusion that drives everything. Global trade, economies, our daily lives.
It's fascinating how this abstract concept became so central.
What's interesting is how it evolved. Early money, like barley, had actual value.
You could eat it.
But later, like silver coins, it's about trust. Silver itself isn't that useful.
Right, but if we all agree it represents value, it works.
That shift from inherent value to trust-based value, that's a turning point.
Huge.
And the Dutch Empire, they built their power on that trust, on credit systems.
Financing exploration, innovation, trade, all based on the belief that debts would be honored.
An empire built on trust, that's wild.
Shows the power of these shared beliefs.
But of course, there's the dark side.
Right, money can fuel bad things too.
Colonialism, slavery, exploitation, economic growth doesn't always mean ethical progress.
A sobering reminder that even our most sophisticated tools can be misused.
And speaking of knowledge and power, that brings us to the scientific revolution.
Beginning in the 1500s, a period of incredible discovery.
But Harari argues it's deeply intertwined with European imperialism.
They go hand in hand.
So it's not just scientists in labs making breakthroughs.
It's more complicated than that.
Both explorers and scientists, they were driven by this thirst for knowledge and power.
They wanted to map the unknown, classify the world, understand its laws.
It's like those old maps with blank spaces showed a willingness to admit they didn't know everything.
And that drove them to explore further.
But that same drive led to some not-so-great outcomes.
Right, like the British fascination with ancient civilizations.
Studying the Indus Valley, deciphering cuneiform.
But also wanting to control those cultures.
So knowledge and power, they're often intertwined.
Raises the question, is scientific curiosity inherently neutral?
Or can it be used to justify exploitation?
A question we still grapple with today.
We need to be mindful of that as our scientific capabilities keep advancing.
Absolutely.
It's not just about accumulating knowledge, it's about using it ethically.
Wisely and responsibly.
Now let's talk about something we all want, happiness.
The elusive happiness.
Logically, with all our progress, we should be happier than our ancestors, right?
You'd think so.
But are we? Really?
That's the paradox Harari explores.
We have more technology, medicine, wealth, but rates of anxiety and depression are rising.
What's going on?
Well, Harari points out that money does increase happiness, but only up to a point.
There's a limit.
So that's saying money can't buy happiness. There's truth to that.
It seems so.
And he digs deeper, exploring how our expectations play a huge role.
If we're always comparing ourselves, always wanting more, it's hard to be content.
It's like those perfect lives on social media.
Makes you think, if only I had that, then I'd be happy.
But it's a never-ending cycle.
And then there's the fact that some people just seem to have a sunnier disposition.
Oh, yeah, I know people like that.
It's partly brain chemistry. Some folks are just wired to be more optimistic.
Makes you wonder how much of our happiness is predetermined.
And how much is within our control.
It's a complex question with no easy answers.
But Harari tackles it head on, even connecting modern psychology to ancient wisdom like Buddhism.
Buddhism. That's interesting.
It emphasizes understanding the self, recognizing that true happiness doesn't come from external achievements.
More about inner peace and acceptance.
Exactly. Powerful message in a world that's constantly telling us to buy more, be more.
It's like we need to reclaim our happiness from consumerism and comparison.
And that leads us to the biggest question of all. The future of humanity.
We're on the verge of redesigning ourselves biologically through AI,
It's mind-blowing.
extending lifespans, enhancing abilities, creating new beings.
Possibilities seem endless, but so do the risks.
We're stepping into uncharted territory with no map.
And that's why these conversations are so crucial.
We need to ask the tough questions now about the ethics of these technologies
About the values we want to embed in them.
and the kind of future we want to create.
Exactly. It's not just about the technology itself, it's about what it means to be human.
And as we delve deeper into these questions, we'll see just how intertwined our past, present, and future really are.
Because understanding where we came from is essential to navigating where we're going.
So buckle up, because this deep dive into Sapiens is just getting started.
It's going to be a fascinating ride.
It's easy to look back and think, oh yeah, history just happened.
Right, like it was all preordained.
But Harari really emphasizes how much is left to chance, how many turning points there are,
He's got a point. It's not a straight line, more like a chaotic system.
with tons of variables, unpredictable outcomes.
Exactly.
So even with all our knowledge, we can't really predict the future.
Nope. What seems inevitable in hindsight, well, at the time, who knows?
Like imagine being back in Roman times.
Right.
Would you have predicted Christianity would become the dominant religion?
Probably not. Too many other things going on back then.
It's fascinating how we try to impose order on the past,
Make a neat narrative.
when in reality, it was probably way messier,
Good reminder to stay humble, admit we don't know everything.
and that the future is wide open, shaped by choices and events we can't always foresee.
Definitely.
Which brings us back to this idea of happiness.
Yeah.
If history is this chaotic, what does that mean for how we try to find happiness?
Harari really digs into that. Makes you wonder if we're even asking the right questions.
Like, are we so focused on achieving things, on getting more and more?
That we miss what truly matters. It's a possibility.
It's like you finally reach that goal you've been working toward,
Yeah.
and you expect this huge wave of happiness.
And then nothing. Or not as much as you thought.
Exactly. It's like, is that all there is?
Harari talks about that, how research shows money increases happiness, but only to a certain point.
Right, so there's a limit.
Beyond that, diminishing returns.
So money can't buy happiness actually has some truth to it.
Seems that way.
But what about other things we strive for? Success, fame, power.
Do those bring lasting fulfillment? Harari says it's not just about what we achieve.
But how we relate to our experiences.
If we're constantly comparing ourselves, always wanting more, it's tough to be happy with what we have.
It's like that thing with social media, seeing everyone's perfect lives.
And then feeling inadequate.
Exactly.
So it's not just about having enough, but appreciating what we've got.
Cultivating gratitude, that sort of thing.
Which is easier said than done, especially in our go-go-go culture.
And then there's this other aspect Harari brings up, brain chemistry.
Yes.
Some people just seem naturally more optimistic.
Right. They do. It's like they have a built-in happiness advantage.
I have a friend like that. No matter what happens, she's always positive.
It's partly personality, but research suggests genetics plays a role too.
Wow, so some people are just wired to be happier.
It seems so.
Makes you think about free will, how much control we have over our emotions.
Harari doesn't shy away from those questions.
He even connects modern psychology with, get this, Buddhism,
Oh, interesting.
which emphasizes understanding the self, the nature of our mind.
And Buddhism teaches that suffering comes from attachment.
Attachment.
Clinging to things that are impermanent, constantly changing.
Oh, I see.
True happiness, it's not about forcing ourselves to feel a certain way.
But more about awareness, acceptance of our inner experience.
Exactly, observing our thoughts and emotions without getting swept away by them.
It's like learning to ride the waves instead of getting tossed around.
Beautiful analogy.
And this practice of mindfulness, it can be really helpful in today's world.
Absolutely, because we're constantly bombarded with messages telling us we're not enough.
Buy more, achieve more, be more.
So it's easy to get caught in that cycle of wanting, never satisfied.
That's why these ancient wisdom traditions are so
To
valuable.
offer a different perspective.
A way to find peace amidst all the chaos.
True happiness, not something we acquire, but cultivate from within.
It's like an antidote to the constant striving.
Reminds us to slow down, appreciate the present moment.
Find inner peace.
Now let's tie this back to the future of humanity. If history is unpredictable, and happiness is an inside job,
How do we handle all this crazy technology that's changing everything so fast?
it's a crucial question. We're in an era unlike any other.
Biotechnology, AI, it's advancing at an incredible pace.
And Harari doesn't sugarcoat the potential risks.
Right, we need to be careful about what we create.
Especially with AI, it's easy to get caught up in the excitement.
But we can't forget that every tool can be used for good or bad.
And AI is unlike anything we've seen before.
It could augment our abilities, even surpass them,
We might be creating intelligence we don't fully understand,
exhilarating and terrifying at the same time.
which is why these conversations are so important.
We need to be talking about AI ethics, the values we build into these systems.
And thinking about how it'll impact society as a whole,
It's not just a tech issue, it's a philosophical one,
it forces us to confront what it means to be human,
especially as the line between human and machine starts to blur.
and it brings up that happiness question again.
If we create machines that can outthink us, outperform us, maybe even outlive us,
What does that mean for our sense of purpose? For finding meaning in life?
makes you wonder if we've been chasing the wrong things,
So focused on progress and efficiency.
that we've lost sight of what truly matters.
Harari suggests we might need to redefine happiness altogether.
Maybe it's not about maximizing pleasure or achieving some external goal.
But about deeper connections, finding meaning regardless of what machines can do,
It's like shifting the question from, what do I want to achieve?
to how do I want to live?
That's a powerful reframing.
It might be the key to navigating this century.
So how do we actually do that? How do we make sure we're using all this knowledge and power wisely?
It's a big question, how to create a future that's both sustainable and fulfilling.
I've been thinking about that a lot as we've been talking.
Me too, it's complex.
One thing's for sure, we need critical thinking skills.
Absolutely, being able to see through BS, question our own biases.
Engage in thoughtful discussion, even when it's tough.
And we need to understand how narratives work.
How they shape our views, how to choose the ones that lead to a better future.
Become better storytellers and story readers.
And just as important, we need compassion
Yes.
for ourselves and others, recognizing we're all connected.
And our actions have consequences beyond what we can see.
Our well-being is tied to the well-being of the planet and everyone on it.
It's about more than individual happiness.
It's about understanding that we're part of something bigger.
A web of life that sustains us all.
And that interconnectedness, maybe that's the foundation for a more just and fulfilling future.
It could be.
Wow, we've covered so much ground already, from ancient history to the future of AI.
It's been quite a journey, and Harari really packs a lot into Sapiens.
One of the things that keeps coming back to me is this idea of storytelling.
Oh yeah, that's central to his whole thesis.
He argues that our ability to create and believe in shared myths, it's not just for fun.
It's essential to how we function as a species.
It's the foundation for large-scale cooperation.
Like you said earlier, those imagined orders.
Right, money, nations, religions, corporations.
None of that exists without our collective belief in them.
It's wild. We're all living in this giant story we've created together.
And those stories, they have incredible power.
They can unite us, inspire us, but also divide us, lead to conflict.
It's not enough to just tell stories.
We have to be aware of the stories we're telling ourselves and question them.
Especially now, with so much information flying around.
It's harder than ever to know what's real.
We need to be critical thinkers, savvy story readers.
And this all feels super relevant when we consider the rise of AI.
Oh, definitely. That's one of the biggest stories unfolding right now.
And Harari is not shy about pointing out the potential risks.
Right. We need to be cautious about the intelligence we create.
It's easy to get swept up in the excitement.
But AI is a tool. And like any tool, it can be used for good or bad.
And it's not just any tool, it's potentially more powerful than anything we've ever encountered.
It could augment our abilities, even surpass them.
We're talking about intelligence that we might not even fully understand.
It's both exhilarating and a bit scary.
Exactly, which is why these conversations are so important.
We need to be talking about AI ethics, what values we program into these systems.
And how they'll impact society. It's not just a tech issue, it's a philosophical one.
It goes to the heart of what it means to be human.
And as those lines start to blur, that question becomes even more urgent.
We need to figure out what makes us human, what's essential to our existence.
And how do we protect that in a world where technology is rapidly evolving?
It's a big challenge.
It makes me think about that happiness paradox again.
Yeah, if machines can potentially outthink us, outperform us,
What happens to our sense of purpose, our meaning in life?
makes you wonder if we've been focusing on the wrong things all along.
Maybe happiness isn't about maximizing pleasure or achieving some external goal.
Maybe it's about something deeper, about connection, purpose, meaning.
Harari suggests we might need to redefine happiness altogether. Instead of asking, what do I want to achieve?
We ask, how do I want to live?
That's a profound shift.
It could be the key to navigating this new era.
So much to consider, it can feel overwhelming.
It is a lot, but I think there are some practical things we can do.
Like what?
Well, critical thinking is essential. Being able to see through propaganda, question our own biases,
Engage in thoughtful discussion, even when it's uncomfortable.
and cultivate compassion for ourselves and others.
Recognizing our interconnectedness, that our actions have ripple effects.
Our well-being is tied to the well-being of everyone and everything,
It's about understanding that we're part of something bigger than ourselves.
and that's a powerful realization.
It gives me hope, honestly.
Me too. It's not all doom and gloom.
We have challenges, but also opportunities. It's up to us to choose the path we want to take.
And to tell the stories that will guide us toward a better future.
Sapiens has given us a lot to think about. It's a journey I'm glad we took together.
Me too. Always a pleasure to dive into these big ideas.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into Sapiens. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep seeking wisdom, both within yourselves and out in the world.